Hi guys, today we're going to talk about advice, obligation and prohibition. Have you ever visited Britain? Or do you know anything about Britain? All countries have their own cultures and traditions, and it's important that we know some things before we visit these countries. Today I'm going to give you some advice about visiting Britain. Some things which I think are a good idea to do, and some things which I think are a bad idea to do. One thing you should do if you go to Britain is to say please and thank you regularly. British people say please and thank you a lot and expect you to do the same. You should also take an umbrella. The weather isn't fantastic in Britain and it often rains. You should definitely queue. British people always queue and nobody likes a queue jumper. You shouldn't confuse Britain and England. This definitely isn't a good idea. Britain is definitely not the same as England. Britain, or Great Britain, is formed by 3 different nations: England, Wales, and Scotland. And if we add Northern Ireland, we call it the UK, the United Kingdom. You are only English if you come from England. If you come from Scotland, you're Scottish. And if you come from Wales, you're Welsh. Some things are more than a good idea to do. They are obligatory. At most schools in Britain, you must wear a uniform, and at some schools you must even wear a tie. You can't do some things, they are prohibited. For example, you mustn't call your teacher by their first name. Instead, we call them Miss or Mrs. plus their surname, for example, Miss Wood. Or if your teacher is a man, Mr. and their surname, Mr. Brown. So, are you ready to go to Britain? Can you remember what you need to do? Remember, you should say please and thank you regularly. You should take an umbrella. You should queue. You shouldn't confuse Britain and England. You must wear a uniform in most schools. And you mustn't call your teacher by their first name. Did you notice that we always use the same form? Should, shouldn't, must and mustn't, plus the infinitive form of the verb. And the good thing is that the form is the same for any subject. I, you, he, she, we, they. It doesn't matter. So, in summary, we use should and shouldn't to give advice, to give a recommendation. We use must for obligation and mustn't for prohibition. Now you're definitely ready to visit Britain. Now, think about your country. What advice would you give to somebody who is visiting your country? What things are obligatory and what things can you not do? Don't forget to share your answers in class.